Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday night, and that means only one thing. It's Middle Marvel time. Chris and I, we are on number 30 as we've gone from coast to coast, recognizing excellence in the classroom from the Middle Marvel perspective. My name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts. And alongside of me, I have my good friend and colleague, Principal Chris Starcheski of Dudley Middle School. Chris, tonight's a great night because not only are we going to delve into National Counseling Week, we're going to delve into our own schools and look at the people who really make a difference at Charlton Middle School and Dudley Middle School each and every day. How are you tonight, my friend?
Doing great after a day of snow blowing and then office relaxation time, catching up on some paperwork. It was a great day overall, but tonight's an opportunity for us to showcase Middle Marvels like we always do on Tuesday nights, Dean. And tonight is special because, as you said, we've got some representatives from the DMS and the CMS counseling team here to represent counselors across the country who are tackling some amazing levels of support services in this day and age. And it's not the old normal that we're talking about. It's not the new normal. It's the normal that our kids and staff are going through, that these counselors are supporting and their colleagues around the country are doing as well. So it's a pretty awesome night ahead.
I'm glad you said that, Chris. One of the things I look at from a public school standpoint is, our counselors, we have maybe 2 or 3 max in our schools with 700 kids. That is, you talk about when resources become thin and you've got probably the most important people when it comes to helping some kids really navigate through the day, and you're that paper thin with that type of support, it makes it difficult, which makes their jobs all that much more important. There's no doubt about that. So again, and we've talked to people across the country that are putting in cultural aspects in their buildings and dealing with SEL and really ramping it up to make sure that kids are in a good place when they walk into schools.
Absolutely. The role of the counselor is, it's really like the onion, when we peel back the layers and we sit down and we look at the varying levels of need that exist. Our counselors are really responsible for identifying and diagnosing and then moving forward with a prescription to really help kids and staff, and in some cases, moms, dads, and other caregivers, continue to move forward and navigate, especially the middle years. There's so much dramatic change with our young adolescents that our counselors are absolutely essential to that success and moving forward. But hey, we could talk about what they do. Let's get it going and get them in here.
Hey, before we get them on going, let's remind everybody we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have a comment you want to put into the comment section, please do. Please tell us who you are and where you're from. We want to hear from you. If you're a counselor out there and you want to chime in, shoot us a question. Our staff is excellent. They'll bounce back. They'll try to answer it as well. So why don't we bring our guys in, Chris? And let's just bring them all in and we'll have them introduce themselves. Even better.
Sounds good to me. I'll just go ahead and start adding them to the stream.
There we have. We've got them all. It's almost like the Brady Bunch. Not a bad thing. Hey, listen, guys, first and foremost, welcome to our show. You are Middle Marvels number 30, plural here. What you do every day is something that we admire you for doing as principals and leaders in our building. But more importantly, you become a beacon of strength for kids to help them get through the day. So that's enough of me talking. Why don't we start off right at the top? We're going to go with Mr. Daley, work our way down to Mrs. Wiles, Mr. Aucoin, and then Miss Murphy. So Mr. Daley, give us a shout out who you are, where you work, what you're all about.
My name is Mike Daley. I work at Charlton Middle School. I've been there since 2005. I've been in the counseling game since 2004. And I'm really hoping to be the first one to unlock the middle tonight, guys.
Love it. I love it. Mrs. Wiles.
I'm Lynn Wiles. I'm the school psychologist at Charlton Middle School for grades 5 through 8. And I've been in the profession for shortly over 20 years. I've spent some time, about last 16 years here at the Dudley Charlton Regional School District and a couple other school districts prior to coming home.
Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks for having us.
Scott.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Aucoin. I'm the guidance counselor at Dudley Middle School. Very lucky to grow up in the town of Dudley, so I experienced what a great school system that we have here. My parents were both educators in the town of Webster, so that definitely had a tremendous influence on me. Graduated from Worcester State College. My first experience in education was being a substitute teacher at Bay Path for a teacher that was on leave. And I think at that time, that's where I really started to, really get to know some of the students in a different kind of way and what they were going through. And I think at that moment, that made me want to become a counselor. Ended up going to Fitchburg State, getting into the master's degree program for school counseling, hired in the year 2000. So I've been here definitely over 20 years, and looking forward to just keep going. Not going to stop anytime soon. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Ms. Murphy.
Hello, my name is Brittany Murphy, and I am the 5th and 6th grade counselor at Charlton Middle School. And this is my first year there, so it's been quite a wild ride so far, trying to navigate through this year. But it's been awesome, I think, so far. So,
Had your challenges, Brittany. It's a tough year to start, right?
It's certainly
It's been a very
a tough year
tough
to
year for
start,
all of
but-
us. There's no doubt about it. And Brittany, you've done a great job out of the gate, so we appreciate it. We appreciate you being here too. It's not easy being on a podcast such as this and really to articulate what you've done in a short period of time. But you've done a really good job, and thank you for being here with us tonight. Chris, why don't you take over?
Yeah. So, thanks so much for being here, Lynn, Scott, Brittany, Mike. You're really representing an amazing team. At Dudley Middle, we have 2 additional, a counselor and a school psychologist, Lisa Incato and Carl Struzula, who couldn't be with us tonight. But thanks so much for joining us and representing DCRSD's middle level counseling team. As we sit down and think about the connections and the supports, for kids. Both our middle schools are somewhat unique because we run grades 5 through 8. So there's developmental changes. There's 10-year-old kids that are 4'2", and there's 8th grade behemoths who are 6'2". Physically, the differences are amazing. But socially, emotionally, academically, there's a tremendous variance. Let's talk a little bit about ways you connect with kids and the types of supports that you provide. Let's start in the bottom corner there with Mike Wilds.
Mike Daley. That's a combination
Mike Daley.
of Lynn
Right.
Wilds and Mike Daley together. That's a super team right there. I'd take that any day. Mike, why don't you start off? Just ways you connect with kids.
Sorry, Lynn.
That's okay.
Well, I think most importantly, I think, it starts at the beginning of the day when we're out there, directing traffic and greeting the students. In a normal year, it's a different story. Like this has been difficult this year, no doubt about it. Kids have masks on. I'm looking through the mask, trying to figure out who it is. So during a normal school year, it's we do lunch duties. We get to talk to the kids. Certainly at a time where it's unstructured. I go through the gym class a lot, another unstructured time to get to see them. I also like to have a satellite office on each floor for 7th and 8th grade, because I'm 7th and 8th grade counselor. I think that's a great way to kind of get rid of the stigma of having to come all the way down to guidance, because every time someone comes in, some people say, "Oh, am I in trouble?" Like they don't really realize that they're not in trouble when they get called down. So to have a satellite office up on the floors is a big way to kind of cut through that stigma.
Appreciate that, Mike. Brittany.
Yeah, kind of like everything Mike said, but also what I like to do is go into the classrooms in the morning, take a walk through, and just kind of make my face and my presence known, because I think that that's one of the biggest challenges this year is not being able to get to know all the kids one-on-one. So if I get to kind of walk through all the classrooms in the morning, they can see me and see who I am and know that I am there for them if they need it.
Now, Brittany, I'm going to stop you there for 1 second. Just going to build upon this for a second. Being new, what's the biggest thing you've seen so far in kids in the structure that we're in right now? Just in terms of them being able to acclimate to learning, coming off the bus, getting into classes and starting their day. What have you seen?
I'm sorry. What do you mean?
What have you seen? How have you seen the kids? How have the kids been able to acclimate in your eyes,
Oh,
especially from the counseling lens?
I think pretty well.
I would agree.
I think the kids have done really well. I think they really enjoy being in school. They want to be here. They want to come in and they want to learn. So I think that they've done really well so far.
Yep, absolutely.
I would agree with that, Brittany. I think a lot of them have been really resilient through the difficult times we've had and have really shown the ability to adjust,
Yeah.
I think they've actually done a remarkable job.
Yeah.
With all the changes.
Thank you. Scotty.
Thank you. I'm going to, definitely agree with my colleagues there. Great ways to connect that we usually do at Dudley Middle. Just being available as much as possible. Be visible during morning drop-off, visible during lunch duty on a normal year, obviously. Meet and greet parents whenever possible, very important. Once you build that relationship with the kids and families, you have a much better chance of helping them out when issues do arise. We do individual check-ins along with small group check-ins as well. On a normal school year, we'll also do we'll teach exploratory courses geared toward career education, exploration. That really gets the kids excited about things that they can get involved with after high school when they get into the career end of it. One thing that is working good with the remote part, I did notice. When we're on the Google platform, we can see kids when they're logged into their email. So what I like to do is I like to just send them a little message on Google Messenger just to say, hey, how's it going? I'm wishing you the best this week, especially the first few days. And they really, really enjoy that. They really, 99% of the time, they answer me on that one. So it just kind of gets them excited about, the way we're doing this kind of thing. So at least if you keep that communication going as much as possible, it's gonna make our job a lot easier.
Think about that.
Line connections, yeah.
Yeah, the little things like that.
I was just going to say that, the little things, right?
Yeah. So let's look through the school psychologist lens, Mrs. Wilds. Not to say that, it's still a level of counseling that you need to do, but from your viewpoint, how have you seen this with the kids and how are you connecting with yours?
I think, traditionally some of the things like again, my colleagues had mentioned the lunchroom, the morning time, walking through the classrooms, just getting into the classroom for classroom observations, just to see what the kids are experiencing day to day. And, the curriculum challenges that they face, the social challenges that they face as well. Other great ways that, we've all connected as well with is through clubs, being involved in our school community, whether it's, back in the day attending, whether it was a theater production or a basketball game. I also coach field hockey at the school. So, I think those are really great ways to get yourselves out and seen and really connect with a wide range of kids. Also, volunteering at the school dances and school socials. We certainly miss all those opportunities, and hopefully they will get back very soon. So.
It's hard to be everywhere at once, though, and to be able to cast your web as a counselor to catch everything, especially as I talked with Chris in the beginning of this about scarce resources. It's real. When you've got a roster of 300 plus kids and you're trying to stay on top of every piece of social emotional roller coaster that they could go through, it's hard. So you really got to be on your toes, and connecting and doing little things definitely makes a difference.
Sometimes the visibility part gets pushed to the side because you're so, kind of caught up with, paperwork or meetings or other things that sometimes gets in the way. Yeah. I definitely would love to spend more time than I actually do doing some of those things, but it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, when you look at inclusivity and how to be able to get a counselor into a classroom and have them be part of the learning, it's hard because you got general crises that pop up too. And all of a sudden you need to isolate, you need to decompress with individuals and families. So again, with many moving parts, it's difficult, but use that future ready thinking. And you're always thinking about how can we improve the element of the counselor, teacher, student relationship within all of our schools and what that looks like. So good stuff.
No, hugely important. And, the next layer to that, Dean was just mentioning and everybody kind of hit upon it, the classroom connection. There's 4 counselors on the screen here. There's 2 additional for 6 between 2 buildings, totaling about 1,200 plus kids. It's not possible to be able to manage that level without having an army behind you. And that army is really classroom teachers and our structural support staff. What are the ways that you connect with and support instructional staff in the classrooms with the work that you do and with the message that you provide? Let's start with Scott.
I think importantly, ways to support the staff within the classroom is you got to always be available to the teachers and to the kids. You got to be ready when they call you. When there's someone struggling up in the classroom, you need to be ready to just go up there, give the kid a break, just maybe needs a little timeout, 5-minute walk, 5-minute check-in just in the office, just to kind of get back on track. But very, very important. You need to be available as much as possible. I try to let the staff know that. Just give me a call, send me an email, call me on the phone. Let me know when you want me to come up. You want me to relieve you for a little while. whatever you need, just to get the kid back on task. I think it's very important. You've got to be available.
And I think we're like the bridges, in between the relationship between the student and the teacher, where you're trying to be that buffer to try to get them to understand, the teacher's perspective in the classroom, and for the teachers to try to understand the student's perspective, being able to kind of, spend the time for both ends of that to bridge that.
How often does that happen, Lynn, in regards to, and it's human nature, because, from a teacher standpoint, they believe in a certain set of learning that has to take place, and children come in from all different levels. So I think that happens more frequently than not.
It does in many
okay.
different ways, whether, like Scott was saying, whether you're going down and you're just taking that student for a walk, or you're having a 5-minute conversation in the hallway, or maybe they need to come up to guidance and have a longer break, or saying to the teacher who, maybe is just having a rough day, remember, give me a call if it's a tough day. We're here to kind of help and support. But it happens, I think, fluidly throughout the day. I think it happens so often we're not even sometimes aware of how often.
I'll be honest. I think this year, just the way the schedule's been set, I've made better connections with the staff than I have in a long time, just by so much communication. So if that's something positive to take out of it, I think it's been pretty good that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely positive. And Lynn, you actually you cross over. You actually co-teach in some elements with teacher and service providers. So you get a different lens there too, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep, I co-teach some social skills group with our speech and language pathologist. For grades 5 through 8. So yeah, it's good to kind of see what we're just putting together mini lesson plans and things that. I can't imagine what teachers go through on a daily basis, and how they have to plan out, and how stressed they are for meeting the standards, and, all the pressures that they're under for correcting and grades, and, modifying, and, meeting everybody's needs. It's just as important to help the student in understanding what a teacher goes through as well for us as a counselor.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
Huge,
How about Brittany?
Pretty much both what Lynn and Scott said, and just a constant line of open communication, I think, is key with the teachers, and able to best support the student and staff. So communication, and just making yourself available for when they need that.
Mike?
Yeah, Chris, I'm glad you brought up the teachers, because I think building a rapport with the teachers is probably most important, and building that rapport through like follow through, and making sure that you follow up with them, because they're essentially on the front line, where they're intercepting crisis, and them calling you and expecting A, for you to be available, and B, to follow through and follow up with them, I think is huge, because the next time that happens, they won't hesitate to call me. And I always try to make sure that I keep them in the loop and communicate, because it's hugely important for them to keep us, because they're our eyes. And when we're not available, we're not around. And I we've been there 15 years now, Lynn and myself, and Scott's been there longer. And Brittany's doing a great job so far of connecting with the teachers. And the teachers are everything for us, to be honest with you. I mean, they start it, and we try and help them out and help them out as much as we can.
Now, we talk about learning communities within each school, and the Dudley Charlton Regional School District way is kids first. It's always been kids first. So we find ways to help kids navigate through the day, and we wouldn't be as good as we are if we didn't have that mentality with what we do. And, my hat's off to all of you, because it takes a special person to be able to, I don't want to use these words, I heard them all the time, nimble and adjust, but that's what you do all the time. The phone call rings, you're walking a kid around. You're interjecting, and you are trying to get them through the day to help them through whatever they're dealing with. So, and then get them back in the path to learning, which isn't easy. It's not easy.
Lynn brought up a really strong image, to me, in terms of, you're teaching some classes, as you said, and you're planning for instruction in smaller groups, and understanding what the teachers are going through, on a micro level. You're looking at, wow, man, they're overwhelmed. They're planning 5, 6, 7, in some cases 8 lessons every day, to be able to support your teacher colleagues by responding to their needs to help kids in crisis is an absolute essential part of the picture. And, the next layer to that, just kind of an offshoot, I guess, have you had opportunities to work with staff on their own capacity and mental wellness, their emotional wellness? What have the experiences been like there? Not disclosing any personal confidential information, but how often are you talking with folks about their own well-being and giving them tips and suggestions?
Especially knowing that we're in this area of time now of balance and self-care and understanding of how all that plays into your ability to perform each and every day.
I mean, I think it's as equally as important as we provide those services for our students to also be there for our staff. It's anything from just, as simple as a hello, a how are you, how was your weekend, just knowing something about their personal life to try to connect with them.
Yep.
Knowing that, some staff that just might be struggling and offering those opportunities to, visit more often or take some students that, might have more of a struggle because, there's a lot of conflict going on in both of their lives at the time. So.
So we're dealing with human beings is what you're trying to say. Kids
Yes.
are just smaller versions of the adults in the building. And Lynn, I've been down to your office a few times for you to help me get through things. So I get it. So I know exactly what you're saying. So it's
just
great.
being a sounding board, being a good listener,
Yes. Yeah.
sometimes it's not even about advice. It's just, being someone you can kind of lean on.
Yeah.
That's really important.
I've tried to tell some of the staff members that I work with, some of the team leaders, I'm just saying, if you can somehow try to shut it down, especially on the weekend. And I know a lot of them don't. It's really hard this time, but I'm just saying, if you could just at least shut it down for yourself and just to try to be supportive to them, let them know that, if they're sending emails out to parents all the time, hey, I can send some of those out for you. Let me contact some of those parents. Let me take that part away from you a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, Scott. Right. I think, probably most concern for our teachers this year, it's just been, just incredibly stressful, in the classroom for them.
Yeah. I agree. Brittany?
So I put together a mindfulness slideshow that I tweeted out to.
Sorry, it was awesome.
And so I think that trying to promote that and mental health and mental well-being for our staff is really huge. And just like Lynn said, being a sounding board, it's not even about the advice sometimes. It really helps for people to vent and know that they have someone to be there. So.
Yep. Mike?
Yeah, I agree with everybody. Usually it starts out with, a student, and then it just turns into just a conversation that goes beyond school into their lives. And you just want to be there and help guide them through any issues they might be having. And, but no, I mean, my biggest thing is building relationships with the teachers and just knowing that, we're there. We are there for them whenever they need us.
We've talked about teachers. We've talked about students. One of the biggest things that you guys all do, and this isn't on our script that we're supposed to talk about tonight, but it's called connecting with families. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, the educators in our school won't know the link that you go to ensure that families understand how important education is and how important behaviors are to help a child get through what they're dealing with. And hats off to all of you, because you could probably tell stories about how you've connected with the family that was a little disconnected with the whole learning process, but you were able to get them realigned. That is the third piece of the element here that counselors do really well. Any of you guys want to elaborate on that? Just take it in any order that you want, because without going into names, the idea is families are part of the learning culture. They're part of the learning community. Yep. Everybody comes together to do what's best for a child. A child can be all over the place. We understand that, but there are children. Okay. And we've got to find ways to help them be successful. So again, when you're connecting with families, you got to have some real soft skills that allow you to be able to navigate turbulent waters at times. But at the end, all of you do a nice job at turning those tables around to ensure that parents understand that we're all in this together. Am I correct with that assumption?
Oh, Dean, I have to say,
I'm sorry.
I'll start it off. I have to say this. pandemic has made me not tech savvy, but has definitely gotten me into the world of Google Meet. And I will tell you, Google Meet is the best tool to connect with parents because it's so easy. And I've had many talks with parents afterwards saying, like, this is fantastic. And we have our 504 meetings through Google Meets. And I don't know if when this all returns to some normalcy, I think I'll have Google Meet 504s all the time because it's so convenient for the parent. But I love the fact that I can just say, through email, hey, you available for Google Meet? And within a minute, we're talking face to face like this, and it's such a great tool. So I think this has been definitely a positive that came through all this.
This is the new norm. This is the new norm. When we reinvent schools, we're using this. We're using it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Who else has to chime in?
I love the Google Meet options. It's been great connecting with parents in a way that, because I'm new and I don't get to meet all the parents, I've had several meetings with families and students. So it's been really cool to get to see parents via Google Meet. So I think that's a great way to connect. I love it.
Scotty. Mr. Aucoin, I apologize. We're on a national platform.
No problem at all. Call me. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, I'm a big proponent on that. You know, learning is not going to take place unless we make those connections with the kids and the families. That is got to be number one, and that's got to be the number one thing that we need to do. And with this technology now, it like Mike said, it has been definitely a lot easier to get the parents involved because they on their busy schedules. And it's definitely a whole group effort, you know, to get to know the families and the kids. It's a whole group effort that should involve the whole staff. So very, very important. No question.
Lynn?
I mean, I definitely have liked the technology part in terms of being able to kind of see a different lens that we weren't able to see before, and almost kind of connect with parents and students together, sometimes in a session that you wouldn't normally get in, you know, pre-Google world, I guess, for us in our district. But I'm a little old school. I still like picking up the phone and making a phone call. I get a little bit of fatigue on all the technology, and I think parents are inundated with emails and Google Meets and, you know, all of the technology that I think a few I've had this year, I think have appreciated a phone call versus just meeting virtually. So, but I do miss the face-to-face meetings though.
Yeah, I think the convenience factor of the meet is great, but going back to your point, Lynn, just that personal connection, you know, the personalized email with a little tidbit about what you saw from the child, the phone call home to make that connection, you know, Mr. Stacheski, I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, that makes us a very special district, to be honest with you. It doesn't happen all over the place. A lot of folks go ahead and check the boxes. You and your colleagues all do an amazing job at making sure there's meaningful connections, and, you know, building on that culture, you know, the idea of that students first, kids first, needs first mentality. What are some ways that you've been involved with or that you have ideas for continuing to build a supportive culture within our schools, within our buildings and community?
And before you even start, I can honestly say the culture in both buildings in our middle schools is outstanding. It really is. You've got people who are dedicated professionals to helping kids get where they need to be. And that's from we're going from the teachers to the cafeteria to the custodians. It is a family atmosphere where people understand our purpose. Okay. But in order to maintain and build that culture to be even more, we all have to be future thinking, and we're going to be thinking about what we can do to be ahead of the curve. So when you start thinking that way, what are some of the things that come to mind that you've been thinking about that help build the overall culture within your buildings?
I mean, I like the idea of meeting with, you know, the Charlton Middle School guidance staff and psychologists, like maybe do that like on a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis. I think that's awesome, the times we've met together and shared ideas. And it's helped me tremendously, you know, finding out how you guys handle situations. And I think if we can get that going again, that'd be great. I like that.
Yeah, I agree, Scott. I think, you know, obviously Chris and Dean are the ones that have kind of help build that, you know, by you guys working together and really creating that type of environment. It has allowed, you know, both the counseling programs and both schools to come together. And I think really as a whole, as a district, we have met across the district with our elementary, school psychologists, as well as our school adjustment counselors in the high schools. And I think just, I know Scott and Mike could probably say this, from the time that we have started, in the district, I think we've come a long way with that and building, our own professional connections in the district from where it was when I started in the district.
Absolutely.
So,
when you're talking about
pretty well. So yeah, that's definitely been better. Yep.
You're talking about those best practices and shared ideas that work, and that's how you make a district such as ours a special place, because nobody has all the answers. Not only do you guys work on culture, but a lot of times, the guidance counselors bring in speakers. They set the seeds. They plant the seeds for kids and teachers and messages. And Mike, you've done a great job of bringing speakers in over the past years, and that's all part of this too. So when you talk about building culture, talk to that just a little bit if you could for me.
So, I wanted to mention this first and foremost. Brittany and I, obviously Mrs. Dragon's been out and we miss her, but Brittany's been a great addition, and we are pumped about our new collaboration. It's the Heron Project Club, and Brittany's been the technological person on that end. She's been doing a great job. We have a Google Classroom, and we've already had a meeting virtually, and it's a student-driven club where they're going to, because we have a week, it's called the Heron Wellness Week in March 1st through the 7th. And the Heron Club is now in charge of organizing every day. There's going to be something new, something different to improve the overall health and wellness of our, in our culture of our school. So, Brittany's been awesome with that. And we have another meeting tomorrow, and we're going to basically set the schedule. Our goal is to set the schedule tomorrow with these kids. And we have about 22 kids. I believe, or 23 or something like that. And hopefully more. Hopefully we'll get more. But we're very excited about this venture.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be really good. And I think once more kids see with this Wellness Week what we can bring in and do, that's what tomorrow's going to be. How can we be creative about doing everything in this
virtually
pandemic? But how can we involve the kids that are in school virtually, that sort of thing. So I'm hoping once the kids see that, it'll get everybody really excited, because it's a really great club with a really great message about wellness and healthy choices and mental health. And so I'm really excited about that.
Well, I would continue to challenge all of you to think of ways outside the box to be able to bring kids together, because right now that's the one piece that they're missing as students in school, that socialization piece.
Mm-hmm.
We know they come into school, they march in, they sit in their chairs, they sit in their rows. They do have mask breaks, but they're very controlled mask breaks. But at the end of the day, they are not socializing. So when you start thinking about what to do next, things that just bring kids together, from just a social element to a game element to a problem-solving opportunity, those type of things are just win-win-win for kids at this point in time, because they need that release. You guys know that as well as I do. Kids at this age, between 10 and 14, you put them in a bottle, guess what? You shake them a little bit, they're going to explode eventually. It's just who they are by their makeup. So we need to be able to get out in front of that the best we can. And you guys do a great job. And so do all the other councils across the country. It's a tough job, guys. It is a tough job. Chris, you agree?
I don't disagree. That's for darn
He was
sure,
shaking his head.
I saw him. I mean, you guys are
I missed the cue for the transition, but I do think, that, while we all wear a variety of hats, and, we've all got life experiences that we bring in with us, just like our classroom colleagues do. And we've fallen into the line of profession that we have. I happen to have a background in education, math teacher, but I also am a certified adjustment counselor. So, I get, the humanistic element that goes into every decision, every direction. Dean's a real compassionate guy. We're leaders who like to be connected with the emotion and the mental health side of things as much as possible. And we can't afford to do that enough. And having a team like you and your colleagues in our buildings to be able to manage and take care of all those pieces that are so important and near and dear to us is just exceptional, because we've got the utmost confidence in you to be able to do the job that is so powerful and so special. So, thank you for everything that you do, not only, because it's the job, but there's a special place in your heart for doing the work that you do, and you wouldn't come in and day out and be able to give what you do give without having a lot of warmth in there to be able to do it with. So thank you for everything that you do. I know we don't say it enough. I know the world doesn't say it enough. The focus is typically on classroom teachers and test scores. There's so much more to success. There's so much more to learning than a test score. I've said it before. I'm not going to go on an MCAS rant or a standardized test rant right now, because that's not what this is about. But what this is about is celebrating the important work that school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists do every day to support kids, teachers, staff, and caregivers. So thanks very much for everything that y'all do.
Hey, shout out to all our district school psychologists and school adjustment counselors, guidance counselors. So happy Counselors Week.
And all service providers, because you guys are in the trenches all day long, dealing with what you have to in the weeds. And you do it with a smile. And guess what? You do it with fidelity, and our kids are better for it. And hey, across America, all the counselors out there, National Counselors Week, this is all about what you guys do. We've had a great tribute here tonight on behalf of Lynn, Scott, Brittany, and Mike, and Chris. Listen, we want to thank you for being with us. All you counselors out there, keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting kids first and make the best effort you possibly can. Be a little better each day. All right, that's all I have. Chris, anything else?
No, sir. You were taking it home, and I'm not going to interrupt you there. Thanks, everybody. Be well, be strong, keep on chugging.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.